Major funding for Florida Matters comes from the Mosaic Company, a leading producer of fertilizer made from phosphate, a natural resource found in Florida. America's farmers depend on Florida phosphate for their crop nutrition needs. Mosaic, helping America grow.
Join us for a recap of Florida Matters' first season of shows and some behind-the-scenes insights I'm sure you'll enjoy. Welcome to Florida Matters. I'm Irene Maher. Carson Cooper and Larry Elliston are here with me today to help celebrate our first season of shows and to give you an inside peek into the backgrounds of some of our story subjects. Guys, we have an amazing hour ahead.
It's been a wonderful first season. We couldn't have done it without the viewers' support.
And viewers like you really make shows like Florida Matters possible. You are intelligent, you're informed, you're enlightened, and a program like Florida Matters could not happen without somebody like you. So throughout this hour, we'll tell you how your support means so much and why it works.
And we'll also tell you exactly how to get involved and become a partner. WUSF values being part of this community. While there's certainly value in today's flood of information, there's even higher value in thoughtful information.
Florida Matters recently received the Community Impact Award from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting for our special on the Florida Amendments last fall.
You know that when you tune in to Florida Matters and WUSF, you're going to walk away with information that you might not have expected.
This is a program about discovery. It's television that you can really feel good about.
A story coming up shows just how much one person can accomplish for a community when they put their mind to it. And what happened after her story aired on Florida Matters may surprise you. But first, we want to revisit one of our favorite stories from our arts episode. Carlton Ward Jr. is an environmental photographer. His work is breathtaking, but his advocacy for Florida's landscape is inspiring.
Amidst the windswept broom sage, while the cattle are settling in for the night and the sun is about to set, Carlton Ward begins the search for the perfect landscape.
Do you have any? Are there any cattle in any of the maiden cane prairies now?
Not right now.
They're all winter rye or whatever.
They're all probably off in the woods by now.
A picture that represents a part of Florida unchanged by time and generations of landowners.
It's one of these kind of gems of what it used to look like centuries ago.
A part of Florida in danger of disappearing forever.
The Clay Ranches is one of 40 or 50 landscapes in the state of Florida. They're the top of the state's priority acquisition list.
Being here at the ranch to capture the land's beauty and highlight the property makes Carlton more than just a nature photographer.
I think nature photography as a whole has been a little bit myopic in its focus in presenting nature as it exists without people.
As a conservation photographer, Carlton has been working on photographs that highlight areas of Florida in need of protection.
What I'm trying to do with my photography is raise awareness for the less seen aspects of the Florida environment and the cultural legacies connected to those environments.
We rode along with Carlton at the Clay Ranch in Putnam County in northern Florida. He and Chance Clay were racing the sunset, scouting locations on the 3,000-acre farm. The Clay Ranch has a diverse landscape, and Carlton is looking for one image to represent the essence of the land. Chance and his friend Michael Dean, with Razor in tow, drive Carlton around to look for the right spots.
There's the rye fields down there.
I only have one frame, one image to do it all in, so I'm trying to find one that represents all these elements.
He plans to feature the Clay Ranch in an upcoming calendar highlighting endangered lands as designated by Florida Forever, a state program designed to preserve Florida's natural and cultural heritage.
If it wasn't for the cattle rancher, this ranch would not be protected. But if it wasn't for this ranch, there wouldn't be the cattle rancher.
But getting the perfect shot takes time.
With the landscape photography, you only have dawn and dusk. So you've got 2 shots a day to try to get it.
The first day proves to be difficult.
Well, we found the perfect spot for a photograph. It shows the native grassland and the oak hammocks, and got set up and drove all around this 3,000-acre ranch to find it, and now the clouds came. So chances are we won't be able to get a shot tonight.
So he'll start early tomorrow for a chance to capture the morning dew settling on the prairie. Today, Tommy Clay takes over, showing Carlton some of the most beautiful acreage on his property. It's a source of pride and reassurance that the land that's been in his family for over 150 years will continue to be protected from outside development.
I kind of feel that the worst day on this ranch is perhaps better than the best day in town.
A sentiment shared by all the members of the Clay family. Carlton himself is an 8th-generation Floridian. The landscape and traditional culture represent a part of his heritage, too. While photography began as a hobby for him, the idea to combine it with his love for nature came while working in Africa.
I started out my career working in Central Africa with the Smithsonian. It was a really exciting opportunity, working with scientists in an exotic place and doing a collection of images that hadn't been done before. But after bouncing back and forth out of the country for 3 years, every time I came back home, Florida had visibly changed, and not necessarily for the better.
While on assignment, Carlton took his own photographs and published a book to recognize the beauty found in Africa, hoping to inspire local conservation. The book was a success, and Carlton realized the same idea could work for conservation efforts in Florida.
I was working and exporting a conservation ethic to a developing country through my photography. Meanwhile, my home state was kind of losing its heritage and losing its land.
So, with confidence from his African experience, Carlton set out to mobilize Florida's preservation effort in a new way. He founded the Legacy Institute for Nature and Culture, also known as LINC, in hopes of reaching a new audience of potential activists. If people could see the beauty in his art and realize it came from their own backyard, then maybe they would be more apt to protect the lands.
When we were trying to figure out the right name for LINC, the Legacy Institute for Nature and Culture, when that acronym arrived, the concept of connection kind of solidified it as what we do. And it's helping provide that connection.
He teamed up with retired local TV news anchor Bob Height to produce the documentary Florida Cowboys, which highlights a part of Florida many of today's residents don't relate to, but has been a significant part of Florida's history. Carlton also participated in Lights on Tampa, a public art event.
It was an exciting opportunity to work with Lights on Tampa because that was the first public art installation I had done. Anyone and everyone is going to see it. They don't have to go to a gallery during defined hours and pay an admission fee. If you're going down Platte in Tampa, you're going to see the art.
Carlton's photography featured in Lights on Tampa will be on permanent display at the Tampa Riverfront Walk as part of an educational component.
If you're working as an artist and you have the opportunity or the knowledge to kind of shed some light on a subject or bring some awareness, I think it's definitely an opportunity.
While he's hesitant to call himself an artist, his work speaks for itself. With each photograph sold at a fine art gallery, on his website, or featured in a magazine, he knows he has the potential to reach a greater audience.
If someone were to give me $10 million and say, go put it to use for conservation, I wouldn't necessarily spend that money on science or research. I'd probably get an army of photographers and videographers and send them out to tell the stories that people need to know. Because I think science and research are important. I have a master's degree in ecology myself, but science falls short of reaching the public and reaching out to people's hearts. So the media and the arts, it's our role to help close that loop and bring that connection.
Carlton's current project, which involves 11 other photographers, will capture 12 places chosen by Florida Forever to be featured in the new calendar.
In 1871, a photographer named William Henry Jackson went into what is now Yellowstone National Park with the U.S. Geological Survey, and they created the first national park in the world by the combination of the science and the photography, and that's the ultimate goal.
For Florida Matters, I'm Carson Cooper.
You know, I think Carlton really summed it up very well when he says that he gets to tell through pictures the stories that people need to know. And we feel so fortunate on Florida Matters to be able to do the same thing.
That's right. Telling stories is more than facts and information. It's about touching people's hearts and their emotions. Carlton does that, and so does Florida Matters.
And it certainly did that with me. I mean, I feel so good about living in this area, the beauty that he has captured there. And I think you'll feel really good about supporting a program like Florida Matters, which introduces you to all these great stories. And we're not asking you to give more than you can afford, simply $10 a month or maybe $75. And if you give at that level, we'll send you all 13 of Larry Elliston's Florida Stories on a DVD. So contribute what you can, maybe $1 a day or $10 a month, and make that contribution, and you can keep Florida Stories strong and healthy on Florida Matters. And you see the number right there at the bottom of the screen, or go to the website.
It's just so easy, isn't it? All you have to do is check it out or pick up the phone. There are so many exciting stories that we're going to revisit in this hour, and Larry is going to share with us, we're told, the process that he goes through to choose subjects for his Florida stories.
Big secret. Sometimes they just find me.
Those are the best ones.
They
I
are.
think. Indeed. For artists like Carlton Moore Jr., it's about making a difference in their world. And for public television, that is definitely the case.
And you can make such a big difference when you pick up the phone and make a contribution of $75 to get Larry Elliston's DVD of Florida Stories, which you've seen and enjoyed during Florida Matters, or $1 a day or $10 a month. That is what you can do. You and other viewers who care about intelligent, high-quality programming that's entertaining, creative. All you have to do is make that call, make the pledge of support, $75 or $100. The number is at the bottom of the screen, or go to the website.
Our next story comes from Larry Elliston, and what we want to know is how you ever found out about the now famous Tipper the dog. Great story.
Quite by accident
Yeah.
on Tipper the dog. I was planning on doing another story. It got canceled. Actually, it got rained out. Imagine that in Florida.
Yeah, really.
So I started thinking about it, maybe a story about animals and how they can be used to motivate learning. And lo and behold, came up with Cindy Goldsworthy and her little dog, Tipper.
Tipper, ready? Let's go see the kids.
Among the early arrivals at Oakstead Elementary School in Land O'Lakes, teacher Cindy Goldsworthy and a dog named Tipper. Tipper is a 6-year-old, 6-pound, long-haired dachshund. She's also a trained pet therapy dog and part-time teaching
Say
assistant.
hi, kids. This is Tipper. She's going to read with my class today.
I don't care if you're reading the boringest book in the world.
Today, everybody wants to be in Mrs. Goldsworthy's class.
Come.
Tipper started her once-a-month visit to class about 2.5 years ago.
We were trying to figure out a way to motivate students to read a little bit more. And I looked at home and I thought, my children are motivated by my dog at home. Go to bed.
So why not get Tipper trained and certified and bring her into the classroom?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Welcome to the 3rd grade and Mrs. Goldsworthy's
So if
class,
you would, go ahead and close those.
where manatees are marvelous, pronouns take the place of nouns, and you can read with Tipper.
Cursive, remember, we're going to do the big one first.
But first, there's another lesson in real writing.
My turn for the O. Again, I'm going to scoot it up a little bit. Come around, like you're going to make the C, go back around and over. Excellent, good, you did it.
And what do you do with the alphabet? You spell and learn new words.
Brisk, the morning was brisk, the air today. Cautious.
Words written
Cloudy.
into sentences and read in books.
I'm going to bring Tipper out in the center of the room. She's going to do some tricks for you and get you all excited about reading with her today.
Come on. Good girl.
Tipper can come in the classroom because she is a certified therapy dog, which means she's had some obedience training, she's had some temperament training, she's had some testing that she has the right temperament not to be afraid of the children moving around the classroom. If a loud noise like a fire drill or alarm goes off, she has been exposed to some of those things, and she'll react appropriately. Go say hi to Scott.
No, it's time to read. Tipper's first reader, 9-year-old Shiloh Williams.
Okay, Tipper, this book is about a kid named David. His mom wanted him to get off the porch, but he never does. If you want to get away from someone, check your watch and say, "Sorry, gotta go."
Tipper makes her appearance once a month. She's a furry incentive that fetches results.
All of my children have been, I think, motivated more to read those longer chapter books on their level. And I think that Tipper provides that extra motivation just to finish that book to get a reward at the end.
Sliding my index finger under the top of the headphones, I pull gently. Whenever I see Tipper, I get happy because I get to read with her.
Reese German read 8 books this month.
This bridge will only take you halfway there to see mysterious land you long to see.
Studies have proven the unconditional love of an animal is a good thing for us humans. Just touching a dog like Tipper offers reassurance and warmth and a sense of well-being. They can be pretty good listeners, too.
Mysterious land you long to see. I like reading with Tipper because she likes to sit with me and read with me, and sometimes she licks me, and most of the times when I hear that I get to read with Tipper, I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to go to the library and get some more books. So yeah, I like to read with her.
Scott, come on over. It's your turn to read with Tipper.
She worried.
9-year-old Scott Matthews has 2 dogs at home and a reading buddy at school.
She had trouble sounding out the words. When you're reading to a dog, you actually feel like you're reading to someone and a person, like a person. And thanks for being a great audience.
Here at Oakstead Elementary, reading to Tipper was going great, and then, doggone it. Just when Tipper was ready for her next student, the alarm for a tornado drill came over the loudspeaker. It was only a practice, but the students and Tipper showed their mettle. And what was Mrs. Goldsworthy saying about loud noises and alarms? Tipper was on top of it, no problem.
Stuck and covered. Good job.
You'll be happy to know that Mrs. Goldsworthy's 3rd grade class came out with flying colors on the duck and cover drill, and Tipper too.
You may sit up and listen for directions. Okay, let's go to school.
And now, back to the books.
Thank you, Sam. Hold our door. Okay. Hold our door.
What a creative way to get kids involved in reading.
Well, it was exciting to see how the kids got so excited reading to Tipper. And, I think being creative in the classroom is what it's all about. And Cindy Goldsworthy really does that well. And that's what all the educators are doing out there. So it's wonderful to share stories like Cindy Goldsworthy.
And those kinds of stories are so fun to share. And if you'd like to share this story with someone, you can, because Larry's Florida Stories, all 13 that he contributed during Florida Matters, are available on a DVD, and it's available for $75. You can call the number at the bottom of your screen right now, or go to that website, make that $75 or more contribution to Florida Matters, and the DVD is yours.
Great. Well, our last episode on this season of Florida Matters covered crime in the Bay Area. One of the segments we aired during that episode asked the question, does media have an impact on public perception of crime? Here's what some local experts had to say.
According to a recent study by Florida State University, residents of Florida are worried they'll fall victim to crime, even though the chances are low.
We found that 95% of that 500 stratified sample of Florida citizens that we surveyed, 95% felt that during the next 12 months they would fall victim of a violent crime. Now the truth is only 1% or less will fall victim to a violent crime, but the perception is that crime is everywhere.
Some law enforcement officials say they're feeling the heat under the glare of public perception.
When you look at the crimes that make the news, such as children being victims of abduction, victims of sexual battery. Is Florida worse than other states? And per capita, I would tell you absolutely not.
Sheriff Judd argues that aggressive tactics used by law enforcement to capture criminals will lead to more arrests, and when that makes the evening news, people have to take it into context.
I can remember at one time, they accused Polk County of having a methamphetamine problem because we'd made so many arrests. So does that mean if we don't arrest anybody, there's not a methamphetamine problem? The reality of it is, our drug problem in Polk County is no greater or no less than any of our colleagues around the state or around the nation. But when we aggressively pursue and arrest those who violate the drug laws or the child predator laws, it doesn't mean that there's more crime here. It just means we've uncovered more crime because we're very proactive in keeping the people of our community safe.
So is the saying true, if it bleeds, it leads?
You know, I actually really don't like that saying because it sounds really crass given the amount of thought and consideration that goes into what we're going to cover, how much coverage we'll give it, and where we place it on the page. But that said, I understand the sentiment because we're all human, and even though part of us might recoil at violence and death, there's another part of us that's really interested.
I mean, there's, you know, some truth to that, but then it's a broad generalization. I think certainly now, in a more modern era, what bleeds leads is not as much as it used to be.
It's true. You really in the media, not just television, because I think television gets a bad rap, but it's newspapers, it's radio, and it is television, that crime sells papers, it gets ratings. That is a fact. One of the reasons that crime is covered so much in the media, it's easy to cover. You show up at a crime scene, great visuals, easy to shoot, the police come over, they give you the information. Covering crime is the easiest thing to cover. It is the least expensive thing to cover. It doesn't take days to unearth a story. It takes literally minutes, sometimes maybe an hour. And for people that say you shouldn't cover crime, that's the analogy of, well, if you see an accident, don't look at it. But the fact is, people will rubberneck and people will watch crime on television and reading a newspaper.
While working in the Richmond news market, Elliot Weiser developed a set of crime reporting guidelines that became his station's model.
In 1993, my wife told me she was pregnant, and that was our first child. And I decided that I did not want my child to see what I saw. Saw some really gruesome things, and I just decided that enough was enough. And I was just perpetuating the problem that I saw in television.
Before that, he'd been one of those reporters that followed the "if it bleeds, it leads" mantra.
I was like everyone else. You got excited when you had big crimes. You went out there, you got the pictures, you knew that people were going to watch the crime stories. And I did that from the days when I was a reporter. I mean, when you covered a crime as a reporter, that was great. It was, wow, this is the big story, and everyone got excited.
Weiser's guidelines are pretty simple.
You will never see a dead body. If we interview a family of a victim, we ask their permission first. We don't just throw a microphone in their face and say, how do you feel? If we go to a SWAT team situation, we will never show the location of SWAT teams. We won't use the name of juveniles unless they're charged as adults.
Weiser was part of Bay News 9's early operations and insisted the reporters and producers used those guidelines when reporting on crime. They're still in place today.
I think that the balance has to be that you have to cover crime. You cannot ignore crime. But you also have to make a commitment to covering other stories, education, social issues, health issues.
The St. Petersburg Times has a kind of test to determine whether certain crime details are just too shocking to publish.
We have this thing called the Cheerios test, and it's, you know, if it's going to make somebody spit out their Cheerios or choke on their Cheerios at breakfast, we're probably not going to run it.
Well, yeah, there are sort of general guidelines. You know, we won't run pictures of dead bodies, even though we have them.
Altman says online journalism has more flexibility in the volume of crime they report because of the difference in the way people view news on the web.
People come to the web. It's like coming to a restaurant and ordering from a menu. You have the ability to tailor what you want by clicking on what you want.
For print journalism, Jenkins says her paper has to strike a balance among the many events that happen in any given week.
The St. Pete Times has a series right now of stories called Random Acts, and it has nothing to do with crime. It has to do with people who do good things for their neighbors. And I think stories like that are really important because there are good things happening out there, and we don't want to give out this perception that we're a community constantly under siege, that there are other stories to be covered than just crime.
For Florida Matters, I'm Joshua Stewart.
And Joshua is another member of the WUSF family.
Joshua produces Florida Matters on WUSF 89.7, and he is among the many people who work behind the scenes for you. And so when you call with your pledge, your contribution to Florida Matters, you are supporting the work of Joshua and all the people who bring this program to you every week.
Here's an interesting fact about this particular story. After it aired, a criminology professor contacted us and asked if he could include that story in his regular curriculum. That's the kind of impact we're having.
And I think the reason is because the story put the issue of crime in such a proper perspective. Mm-hmm. But we do that with all the issues that are so important to Florida. And there are a lot of issues, believe me. And of course, we couldn't do it without our viewers' support.
So important. We can continue to explore those issues and provide local programming only with your support. So we're asking you to consider becoming a partner with WUSF today. Our thank you gift for members who support WUSF with $75 or more is a commemorative Florida Matters DVD featuring the first season of Florida Stories that we've been watching, produced by Larry Elliston. It's a great keepsake to have and a testimony to the impact that your contribution can make on this community.
And you can get that DVD by simply calling the number at the bottom of your screen or going to the website, but I assure you that if you make that call now, a live human being will answer, and that's refreshing in itself. But if you want to go online, go to that website, make that $75 contribution, and we will send to you Florida Stories, the 13-part series on the DVD.
Our next story was part of the civic engagement episode that aired earlier this year. Stephanie Bazansky, the local activist featured in Larry's Florida Stories, showed the segment that we produced to area supporters. She was then able to raise an extra $100,000 for her project. Take a look now at Larry Elliston's report on Freedom Playground.
If you don't think one person can make a difference, then you've never met Stephanie Bazansky. Since Stephanie went to work in her home office, writing grants and raising money,
hello?
2 playgrounds in Tampa have never been quite the same, with more playground projects on the drawing board.
You know, I'm thinking CVS Pharmacy has been a major supporter in the past, and they gave us 2, sizable grants for Freedom Playground and for Imagining Possibilities.
First inspired by her daughter, Sarah, who was diagnosed with cerebral palsy in 2001, Stephanie Bazansky saw a problem in need of a solution.
If you're in a wheelchair, this is pretty impossible to get across because you have sidewalk, railroad ties, some sand, and then the surface. So it's just a good example of, a barrier to play.
So with the same zeal that served her as a young Peace Corps volunteer, making life better in Ecuador, this wife, mother of 2, and private citizen set out on a mission closer to home. Stephanie's dream, a playground where kids of all abilities could play together. At first, she traveled the road alone, but financial donors, fellow citizens, and a city eventually shared her determination.
That dream has become a reality. To dream the impossible dream and make it happen, that is the American dream, isn't it? That is the American dream.
On February 2nd, 2008, Stephanie Bazansky joined Mayor Pam Iorio for the ribbon cutting of Freedom Playground at Tampa's McFarland Park. A dream 7 years in the making. On a recent visit to the specially designed playground with her daughters Sarah and Claire, Stephanie couldn't be happier for all children.
When I come here, I just feel a lot of joy. I feel like, you know, it's the achievement of a dream, and it's something that I thought about for a long time and worked really hard on, and with a lot of people's help, and it makes me feel like we did something right. I think Sarah just feels free. She feels part of the community, part of the park. She feels welcome. For her, I think it's, you know, Freedom Playground. That's what it means, just free.
I was playing the drums and I was going down the line.
If you doubt Stephanie's role in Freedom Playground, City Planner Tom Johnston says she saw a need the city didn't see.
Stephanie, it's 98% Stephanie. With her vision and her getting the designer on board, it really got the project going and made it happen.
Stephanie also raised 1/2 of the $1 million needed to build what is now Tampa's most popular playground.
I think my time in the Peace Corps has helped me in a lot of ways in my life. I think just kind of not being afraid to approach people in a community and ask for support. You know, having an idea that you can make a difference, but also realizing that you can make a difference. A small difference is just as important as a big difference.
For 7-year-old Artisha Pride, a second project spearheaded by Buzansky's Freedom Playground Foundation has made all the difference in the world. At Imagining Possibilities Playground, Artisha is just another youngster at Grady Elementary having fun.
I like places around people. I like to play over there and there and there and there on the music things and all around it.
With its rubber flooring, wide ramps, and special equipment, this playground is the first of its kind at a Hillsborough County school. Assistant Principal Christine Dosel owes it all to Stephanie Buzansky.
She's a hero to all of us, and especially to the children. You can see how much they enjoy the playground. It's fabulous. And you know, sometimes it takes one person to really make things happen. And she was the one that instigated it, and then the teachers, the faculty, the staff, the school district, all jumped on board, and we made it all happen together.
What I always wanted for Sarah and for other kids was I want other kids to get to know them as a kid, not this is the kid in the wheelchair, this is the kid with autism. It's just this is a child that likes to read like I do, or this is a child that likes to play on the swings like I do.
And just think, all of this, all that Stephanie Buzansky has accomplished, started with a single $5 donation.
The $5 donation Mary Watson gave her friend years ago for nothing more than an idea called Freedom Playground was the push Stephanie needed.
I didn't have but $5, and I gave it to her, and I told her, I said, you take this $5 and you go and start your dream. I'm tired of you sitting here talking about what you want to do. God said if you make one step, he'll make two, Stephanie. Get up, get busy. And she did. You know, she made a blessing not only for Sarah and Claire, she made a blessing for a whole world of children.
I think you should be very proud of the fact that Stephanie was able to air that piece that we just saw in Freedom Playground and actually raise more than $100,000 for her cause.
Well, it does make you feel good, but it's really true. The viewers should feel good too, because their contributions made this program possible, made that story possible, so they can feel good also.
Sure.
And Stephanie had a passion, she had a dream about what she was doing, and you may have noticed that $5 she mentioned in there. That's, you might be thinking to yourself, how can $5 really accomplish much? And a lot of folks who contribute to public television may ask the same thing. Now, if you've watched and you've given before, you kind of get this, but if you're new to public television, you may think, how can my $5 or $10 a month matter? Well, there's strength in numbers. Quite frankly, that's the secret. And Stephanie knows that. We hope you realize that. So your $5 or $10 a month really makes a big difference. And you'll see a number at the bottom of the screen. That's how you can contribute. And if you do $75, one contribution will send you all 13 of Larry Elliston's Florida Stories on a DVD. So make that call. You'll see the number at the bottom of the screen right now, or go to the website.
And thank you in advance for making that call. You know, WUSF has a strong relationship with the local arts community. Our next story takes place in Sarasota at the Oslo Theater. It's an 18th century Italian theater that has called Sarasota home for more than 50 years. Here at WUSF, we recognize that not everyone can buy a theater ticket or make a trip to see a show. So that's why we're excited to bring the Oslo Theater right into your home. So sit back and enjoy a tour through one of the Bay Area's finest performance venues. And as you'll see, even when the stage is empty, the building's design sings on its own. It's the birthplace of Sarasota's art scene.
The Oslo Repertory Theater began here 50 years ago, eventually outgrew the space. The Sarasota Opera Company began in this tiny little theater. La Musica International Chamber Music Festival had its beginnings here. The ballet had its beginnings here.
This theater is so important because it created a demand for the performing arts in this region. So many of the great cultural venues in Sarasota started in the Oslo Theater, and then through their great success grew out of the limited space and found the need to build their own performing arts halls. And so it's one of the reasons there's so many theaters around here.
The Oslo Theater's design is as much of a draw as the performances held on its stage.
It was once said that this is one of two theaters in North America that's worth the price of admission merely to buy a ticket and be seated.
How the Italian theater became a Sarasota landmark is part of the intrigue.
The Oslo Theater it dates from the 18th century. It was built in a castle in Oslo, Italy, to honor Queen Caterina, whose portrait is here. At that time in Europe, there were a number, particularly in Italy, small palace theaters such as this. But in the 1930s, Mussolini's government determined that this particular theater was sort of an artifact from a bygone era, and it was removed to make way for a film theater. It was then, it came into the possession of an antiquarian dealer who then sold it to the first director of the Ringling Museum of Art, primarily because it speaks very directly to our collection of Italian Baroque art.
The Oslo Theater settled into its second home during the 1950s. But after 40 years of performances here in Florida, the theater began to show its age and was closed to the public for extensive renovations in the late 1990s.
What you see here now, everything that's gold now was pretty much black. Everything that was green, if you can imagine, there was a time people were allowed to smoke in theaters. So the place was covered with tobacco smoke. Much of the ornamentation had been lost. Things were damaged. There were great cracks in all the portraits. Down Caterina's face, there was a crack about a half-inch wide. It was in a building that leaked. The piece up above here, the proscenium, is only paper thin because of termites.
While restoring the Oslo Theater to its former glory, museum curators also uncovered new parts of the theater's design.
The architect was Francesco De Marchi and the Esteo brothers. We found the faces of two of these gentlemen in pencil behind one of the decorative elements. So in lieu of a signature, their faces, we think, may have been their explanation that they were the ones that did this beautiful work.
It took nearly a decade for the entire process to be completed.
Everything you see here was taken apart, cataloged, stored, fumigated, debugged, and then for another full year it was brought in piece by piece by piece into our conservation labs, where it was restored, repaired.
I think it was a sense of humility, passion, and a learning process. None of them were the same. There were different structural breakage situations. There were needs for back building to keep them integral.
But the end result continues to be a source of pride for everyone involved in the restoration.
And we looked at it and we said, it really looks nice, doesn't it? But then it was when other people started to come into the theater, and we would bring them on the stage like where we are now, and we would close the curtain, wouldn't let them see it, and then open the curtain and you'd hear them go, "Oh my God." And we've never gotten tired hearing people say that.
The joy of the last 10 years is to be able to bring back to life facilities that had really lay dormant because of neglect. And when we clean the panels of the theater, to uncover the glories of the painting beneath and the gilding and the treasure is really like bringing something back to life.
Since the Oslo Theater reopened in 2006, it has enjoyed a full calendar of events.
The theater is very active. There are close to 200 to 300 performances a year. We do a full schedule of theater, music, dance, film, lectures.
And museum curators recognize the restoration process is an ongoing endeavor.
It's an old piece, so the cracks are starting to reappear, and gilding needs to be touched up every year, and just very careful cleaning. But it doesn't get nearly the same, I don't want to say abuse, but that it used to get. We're in a climate-controlled building now. People are not smoking in here, so it should last longer this time than it did last.
Visitors and performers alike can rest assured the curtain will not be closing anytime soon.
And at this point, we are doing our most diligent best to make sure that that theater is well maintained year after year, and a portion of our ticket sales we redirect to care for the facility and to keep it in a manner that people can be proud of, not only now but in decades to come.
Because of Florida Matters, so many people have just made their first trip to the Oslo Theater. What a gem we have in Sarasota.
We do, and you know, the art scene in Sarasota is totally unique in all of Florida, and we hope our viewers agree that so is Florida Matters.
I lived in Sarasota for many, many years. I've been to the Oslo a number of times. I had no idea about the history of the Oslo Theater. It's wonderful, and you know, we're all curious about our community. You're intelligent, you want to know more about what's happening here in this area, and Florida Matters keeps you in touch with this area. And we believe it's television worthy of your support. So make that call now, or go to the website. You see the number and the web address at the bottom of your screen, and make that pledge of support. $75 will get you Larry Elliston's DVD, the 13-part Florida Stories, or make a contribution at whatever amount is right for you. Maybe $1 a day or $10 a month, but make the call and support Florida Stories. So Irene, if there's a scientific formula for this, it would be you plus your phone call equals great television.
I think that's the perfect formula. What could be more central to science and nature than the act of discovery? All the great advancements in technology or science and those breakthrough inventions that change the world, they're all based on discovery. Our first episode of Florida Matters this season dealt with innovation. We met a man, Peter Lefferson, who is a true innovator, and the best part is his source of inspiration.
My solution usually is to go for a walk. Go for a half-hour walk with your mind working on that particular problem, and by gum, you come home with the most marvelous solutions.
Peter Lefferson seems to know a lot about problems.
Every invention needs a problem to solve. That's where you start. You start with a problem.
But he's actually an expert in creating solutions.
Since I was a kid, I've been building stuff, putting things together, taking things apart. You know, every kid has to take apart the wind-up clock and try and put it back together again.
And Peter has done a lot of problem solving. The St. Petersburg retiree and former NASA technician has invented so many products that he can barely remember them all.
That's the Halo, and this is the new prototype. And if I can remember the name of it. Kathy, what's the name of it?
Leisure lamp.
Leisure lamp. This is Leisure lamp, and I think it has a lot more style. So the room is dark at night, but the floor is lit.
Peter's a member of the Tampa Bay Inventors Council, a group of inventors from the Bay Area who get together and share advice and tips.
I really recommend any inventor who wants to have fun with inventions to join an invention club. I have 6 patents now and 3 more in the pipeline.
When he's always thinking
so I never can shut his brain down. I can hear it going sometimes at night. He's thinking.
This is a mattress switch. The idea of the mattress switch is to be able to turn things off and turn things on simply by reaching under your pillow and pushing a bump in the sheet.
Oh, I've been inventing things all my life. Unfortunately, those things that I was inventing back in high school had already been invented.
Many times when he's helping me with an idea or a project, he'll say, "You're going to love this." And I say, "Okay." And most of the time I do, but other times not so much.
Peter and his wife Kathy have been married for 43 years, and they both admit it's quite unusual being married to an inventor.
My good wife Kathy for 43 years has really put up with a lot.
I don't think so. I think he puts up with a lot for me. That's why we're so well matched.
All these years, bringing all my machinery and meters and so forth, just kind of filling up the house.
It seems that his wife is his true inspiration.
I think he sees sometimes when I'm having trouble doing things, and he thinks I can figure out something to help with this situation.
Kathy lives with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, a joint disease she's had since childhood that affects her hands. Many of the inventions and gadgets that Peter comes up with are all things that help his wife in her daily activities.
A lot of the problems of my own particular situation, he has struggled to solve. And as I say, most of the time it's very successful.
Kathy's the inspiration for Peter's life of invention.
People may not have expected the wonderful love story that eventually developed in that particular story. You know, when you tune in to Florida Matters on WUSF, you're going to walk away with information that you might not have expected. You'll have found out something you might not have otherwise known. And we hope you feel good about the time you've spent watching television.
Irene, I know a lot of people do feel good about watching television. We have received some wonderful comments from viewers, and I have a few right here. One reads, "You are doing a great job with your programming that meets all of our family's needs, kids and adults. Thanks for all you do." You know, that's a great point. Kids can watch this program too. I watch it with my kids, and you know, there's nothing like a story about inventors to stir the imaginations of young minds. So call now with your pledge. Consider becoming a partner with WUSF today. Contributions at any level are welcomed. It can be $1 a day or $10 a month, or how about $75 or more? And when you do that, you'll receive a commemorative Florida Matters DVD that has a full season of Florida stories on it. It's a great keepsake to have and a testimony to the impact your contribution can make. You see the number at the bottom of the screen. There's also a website. We could not do this without you. So support Florida Matters right now with your pledge of support.
Our last story highlights immigration in the Bay Area. It's a part of America's patchwork, and the words "Welcome to America" still sound just as sweet. Larry Elliston is here once again to tell us about a family that he met they're from Burma, but they live right here in the Bay Area, new residents.
New residents. When I approach this story on immigration, there's many different ways you can go about that story. Food, culture, all the things that people bring with them from another country to the United States. But I didn't want to do a story on immigrants in our area that were long established. I wanted to do a story on some new arrivals, some refugees, on their first day in America.
We have here the check also to cover for the rent, utilities, and also the pocket money for the refugees when they arrive tonight.
Lourdes Macias is going over the last-minute details for the arrival of one of Florida's newest families.
Is all the furniture already in the truck?
Yeah,
the
truck. And the food is going to be ready when they arrive.
Ong Tain knows how special this day is. 2 years ago, he arrived in Florida as a refugee himself. Ong is from Burma, the Southeast Asian country crippled for decades by a repressive military regime. Though rich in resources, armed conflict and a political stalemate has left Burma one of the poorest countries in the world. Ong Tain works for Lutheran Services Florida. though he's often the first person to welcome refugees from around the world to their first taste of freedom. Tonight's assignment has extra meaning.
When they meet me and when I welcome them with their language, like with Burmese language, they just get surprised and all their stress goes down.
But before he heads to Tampa International to greet the family of 3, Ong is on his way to their new apartment with a truckload of furniture.
To the Tampa Bay area, we are going to be helping this year around 413 refugees.
Statewide, Lutheran Services Florida will assist more than 800 refugees. Coordinated through the United Nations and the U.S. State Department, LSF extends a helping hand to immigrants escaping political repression and personal danger.
All my dreams will come true.
Whether they come from Iraq, like Mohammed Al-Jari, or from Cuba, their goal is the same. They want to become U.S. citizens. They vote for freedom.
I think this country is built on refugees.
11 years ago, Lourdes Macias, U.S. citizen, was a refugee from Cuba. 2 years ago, Ong Tain, now a legal resident, was a refugee from Burma.
We have freedom here and democracy, so we have opportunity to be whatever we want to be. So this is the main opportunity for us.
With the kitchen in order, and the beds made, and a final adjustment to the dollhouse, it was time.
Free, like a river, flowing free through infinity. To be sure of.
At Tampa International, Ong Tain waited for the passengers to deplane. He was looking for someone carrying a large white bag marked International Organization for Migration.
When we see that, so we are sure that they are refugees and that we are expecting.
The IOM bag is unmistakable. The family from Burma had arrived from Newark by the way of Kuala Lumpur. They had fled to safety in Malaysia, awaiting admission to America. Ong welcomed 99 Zatun, his wife Mimi Zon, and their 6-year-old daughter Susu. Hearing those first words spoken in Burmese was a comfort. Lourdes' first words in English, surely a dream come true.
Welcome to the United States. Hello dear, how are you?
When 99 Zatun entered his new apartment, other Burmese refugees also resettled in Tampa warmly welcomed him and his family. For the next 120 days, Lutheran Services Florida will help this family adjust to a new country, a new culture.
And it takes time, but they get it.
Away from the military that once jailed this former coffee shop owner, away from the violence and repression that once controlled his every move. What were 99 Zatun's thoughts about the future on this, the very first day in Tampa, Florida, United States of America?
What are your dreams, your hopes and dreams?
They hope for the future for their daughter, and she can get the good education. And there's no afraid, no fears from the government or military or police. So they have freedom, so she can get the good future. They just dream for her.
Free from all worries, worries prey on oneself's troubled mind.
Immigration energizes Florida. The new arrivals bring with them the hopes and dreams they will invest in a new country, a new community. As they energetically build life afresh, they share with all of us their own unique talents, culture, and undying belief in a better future.
This was a wonderful story on so many levels, but you really have to share with our audience the way in which you were able to get that shot at the airplane landing.
Well, you know, we had to get permission of the airport police at Tampa International to go out on the runway and let the plane fly 100 feet or so over your head. That was after we were stopped from trying to get the same shot on Hillsborough Avenue. We were visited very quickly by a patrol car. Yeah.
And escorted away?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, one of the real joys about working on Florida Matters is that you're given the time to tell stories in that way, to let them breathe and to really let viewers let the information sink in and let them feel it.
You can't tell a story like that in a 2-minute news package. It does have to evolve. And I try to take the viewer there, the next best thing to being there. And that was a wonderful story that I really enjoyed doing. I hope, among other things, that people will realize we take a lot for granted in this country. And what makes this country great are the people who brings their hopes and dreams, not only to this country, but to this state.
Sure. Larry, I know you're a humble guy, but I have to tell you, you have a wonderful eye for these types of stories, and I hope you can share them with us again soon.
Thank you, Carson. I hope we'll be here next year.
Well, in fact, this whole hour has gone by so quickly, and we've just barely scratched the surface. But there's more. There's more Florida stories. We have a DVD. It's available for a $75 contribution for Florida Matters. All 13 unabridged of Larry's Florida stories available on a DVD for a $75 contribution. Now, pledge at any amount, though. It can be a $35 introductory membership or $1 a day or $10 a month. Every membership level makes such a big difference, and we really appreciate your support for Florida Matters. And we certainly, like Larry said, we look forward to bringing you more Florida Matters in the future.
Thank you so much for watching Florida Matters and for making your commitment to support this kind of public broadcasting. As always, the discussion continues on our website at WUSF.org/Florida Matters. We hope you enjoy our summer rebroadcasts of Florida Matters, Friday nights at 8 and Sunday mornings at 9:30. I'm your host, Irene Maher. For my partners here, Larry and Carson Cooper, we hope to see you next time.
Major funding for Florida Matters comes from the Mosaic Company, a leading producer of fertilizer made from phosphate, a natural resource found in Florida. America's farmers depend on Florida phosphate for their crop nutrition needs. Mosaic, helping America grow.